Hi there, this is Mark. I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how to swap out a washing machine pump motor. This will be a bit generic. It's a very common pump motor. It's this guy here, and this is going into a Maytag Centennial commercial technology machine. And the model number for these is under the lid here if you're trying to find the model number of yours. That's where you find them. Now this pump is actually generic to a whole lot. It has two part numbers. There's one part number on it. Here's the part number here on the pump. One part number is W10614033, but that's actually been superseded and updated with a new part number now, and that new part number is WPW10276397. Once more, it's WPW10276397. Same pump. You can take the front off this. There, I've taken the front off. You can see the impeller in here. And I'm told by the service personnel I've spoken to that it's very common for these pumps. There's a heat overload sensor on them, and it's very, very common for them to fail. And that's what we're believing has happened with this one here. That's where the wires connect in the back there. But the motor is still running. When it still runs okay, but it won't run for any length of time. And if it's a hot day, this washing machine is installed in a garage, and if it's a hot day, it won't run at all. So we're switching out with the new one, which has just arrived, and see if we can't get this machine running. Some machines have access panels down in the front here, which this one does. Some machines you can take the front panel off. There's a seam down here and you can just screw it and drop that off and get to the pump. This one doesn't have that either. The first diagnostic test that I did, I actually had to pull the drum out, which is a matter of just getting a screwdriver to pop out that center hub and then undoing the bolt, lifting out the strainer, and then lifting out the entire drum. And in order to do that, I had to take the top off. And on this machine, sometimes it's actually pressing like a putty plier into this gap here to release some clips. That's what I thought it was going to be on this machine from my research on YouTube, but it didn't turn out to be the case at all. On this machine, there's screws on the back, which you can see here. And I actually had to release those screws, and then the top came forward and I was able to get the drum out. Mine didn't have. Often, very, very often, these will get socks or small implements which come from overloading, when these actually end up going over the top here, over the top here, and getting down into the side of the drum, and they then will block the pump and stop it from pumping out, giving the same error code that I had here. So that was where I went first, pulled it all out, and there was nothing in there, so that wasn't a problem. We had to keep on digging. The error codes I had for this pump that was coming over and over again was F9E1, which is too long to drain. A little bit later I'll do another video of how to have a look on my channel if you want to see how to find the error codes, because you can actually get it into maintenance mode, and then these lights here will give you an error code, just like your motor car does, to tell you what's going on and where the problem is. So look for another video that shows you how to do that. Okay, so I've just walked the machine out a little bit to get some room, and I'm going to disconnect now the hoses. Before you disconnect the hoses, of course, you've got to make sure that your taps are off so you don't get sprayed, and then try to do them by hand, and these are a little bit too tight, so I'm going to use a tool to take them off. There shouldn't be too much water leak out, and I'm noticing that they're not crossed over, so the hot and the cold will go back straight on. This washing machine is installed in a garage, so I'm not at all worried about a bit of water leaking out. If you're in a laundry with a tiled floor and a drain in the middle, again, there's no problem with water leaking out. This machine, the pump is actually accessed from underneath, so I'm going to tip it over. And because the pump's broken, even though I've tried it over a couple of days while I was waiting for the pump to come, the pump that's in there will not pump the water out. So it's going to spill a bit of water, but as I said, it's into a garage, so I'm not stressed about that. So to tip it over, I just need to disconnect the drain, make sure that's off as well. Just going to tip it straight over onto its head, and we're going to put it down onto these boards just so it doesn't damage the machine. And when you do this, you just want to make sure that the lid doesn't flop open. Okay, so the machine's upside down now, and as you can see, very easy to get at the pump. This is the pump here, and we just need to undo these 3 bolts here, here, and here. That'll come out, and then a pair of slip joint pliers or pliers to open this to take the drain off and take the wire off, and it really is that simple. Here are the tools that we're going to need. You just use a cordless drill driver with a socket on it to pull these off. You can just do it by hand, and just a screwdriver to lift the cap where the wires are, which is right here. We just need to lift this back. There's a little lug on the side, and then one on this side. Obviously the machine's unplugged at this point. Lift that back, pull that out, and then we just need to take these 3 off. So here's the socket, and it's actually a 5/16 socket, and we'll just take this straight out. We can lift that out, and that's the pump like I showed you at the start, the other one. And this here is the little cover which is inside the tub of the washing machine. So now we'll just switch that out. So we're just going to loosen that. You just squeeze those 2 ends together, and you can loosen it off, and then pull out the pump, and that one's out. And here is the new one. So I'm going to put this one in. So the direction that you want it with this pump housing pointing out towards the waste drain. So that goes there. We'll sit it in place. Reverse the direction on the drill, and then we'll put those screws back in. Now we're screwing into plastic, so you do have to be very careful with that so as not to overdo it or do it too tight. And I've got the clutch set on my drill so that it won't go too tight. It just clicked once then as I was going in. That's nice and tight. And I've just dropped the socket. Okay, so this is back in place. It's tight, it's all sat down. The 3 things are all down nicely. So we slide that back over, excuse me, and then we pinch these again and slide the clip down over the top. It is possible. The first time I did this without my pliers, but it's way easier with them. Okay, that's now in place. The wires that came off, there's a big clip and a little clip. They just go back in place like that, and then that just gets down there. Oh, it comes up there. It comes out the big hole at the top. That clips down. That's it. That's fully installed. Okay, so now to test it, just go to my channel and find the next video, which will be entitled about how to run a test sequence on this washing machine, and that'll let us know if it's operating or not.